I've been gone for a week and now it's a bannable offense to say you're gonna boycott a Total War game. Well, as the saying goes, that did indeed escalate quickly. Yeah, that's actually true, incidentally. Doomsaying calls for boycotts or spreading misinformation is now against the codes of conduct, the terms of service of Total War's Steam forums. Yes. Creative Assembly is very obviously having a bit of a moment right now. Several moments, in fact, as they even go so far as to, well, I don't know, be delusional, I can only assume. As goddamn CA, you've got to have smoked a lot of peyote to come up with this line. Criticism is will always be welcome. That Creative Assembly. Oh, you will excuse me, but I've been on your forums, CA. I've been myself a critic of your games, and you called me a dickhead on your official podcasts. The CA forums make certain installations created by the Nazis during the Great Second World kerfuffle look downright permissive, okay? They are not very fond of creative criticism. Okay, I'll collect myself, I promise. But yeah, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, frankly. Rather, let's talk about what's going on here, because this is actually rather interesting. The banning thing obviously has to do with the fact that, well, the game is currently getting absolutely pounded. It's not only mostly negative recent, they've managed to drop Total War Warhammer 3 to negative. The scale of this review bomb is such that Steam hasn't even been able to get rid of it. It's been a continued bombardment campaign by an audience that have finally been pushed too far. And this comes on the heels, of course, of multiple other Creative Assembly failures, to the point where the poster even actually admits it. It should come as no surprise that we are all having a moment right now, as things are uncertain as we learn what the future of works and games looks like. CA is on its knees, it appears, which is a remarkable thing, because I want to point out here, Total War Warhammer was unfathomably profitable. They sold us that game not once, not twice, but thrice, with accompanying DLC, all for the sliver of the cost of creating a full-scale Total War, which, well, they haven't actually done pretty much since, essentially. And laced with DLC. The profit margin has been absurd, and yet apparently somebody's managed to step into the piggy bank with a loaded flamethrower and set fire to years of unbelievable profits. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So, what's the reason? The mention of misinformation I find particularly fascinating, because as I've been on vacation for the last week, I received quite a lot of various messages sending me links to YouTube videos going, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this? There's leaks and stuff. There's all kinds of stuff coming out from CA, and you know what? That makes sense, because this would be the environment in which a disgruntled employee might be looking back at the company as they leave and going, yeah, screw those douchebags. I myself have received a couple of messages from people essentially expressing regret at what's happened, that they are now being let go from their jobs, but it's always something I can sympathize with, of course, due to things that they view to be outside of their control, errors made by management, in essence. Fair enough. And that probably is what has happened, but I don't believe quite a few of the leaks, and here, to be fair, any leaks on YouTube is always basically going to come down to your trust in the person telling you. As, well, you know, there's more than a few people that have a lot of rumors going around, and a few of them tend to be rather extravagant, shall we say. And some of the things, for example, the idea that Pharaoh was intended to be DLC or an expansion of a Troy. Yes, obviously, playing the game for 5 minutes makes that blindingly clear. And the idea that this was all somehow the error of the upper management, the greedy CEOs, which was the problem. I don't actually believe that was the case. So, let me explain. Some of the claims I was like, oh, well, they were aiming to minimize and maximize the monetization, they were there to squeeze the customers. Yes. You know, that's not news. That's not. That has been Creative Assembly's monetization strategy for 14 years now. Ironically, since Empire, they've been striving towards this idea of a Total War release every year with accompanying DLC to really milk the customer base. And this is a strategy that they have in essence perfected, where they will release something that's garbage, and the audience will go like, this is garbage, and they'll burn all of their goodwill in order to cash in quick. Then they'll release something nice and be like, oh, we're very sorry, here, look at this thing. And then people will go, oh, thank you, CA, we trust you now. And then they'll get bonked right again. They've turned this into an art form, frankly, honestly. And again, starting with Empire, going with Napoleon, Rome, Attila, blah, 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 on and on it goes. This is simply CA business as usual. But Hyenas wasn't that. Hyenas is what burned their money bank. And Hyenas was not the product of some suit being greedy. Because, I posit you this, if this truly was a problem with the upper management, the greedy investors, the greedy money bag CEOs, would they have cancelled Hyenas? No, of course they wouldn't. Well, why? Why would they have cancelled it? Because, a buggy, unfinished, unplayable piece of garbage? If you think that's enough reason for Creative Assembly to cancel something, I've got a lot of all Total War titles to sell you. That's a premium, of course, because they're classics now. No. CA has a history of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, getting whatever they can from it, and then snapping its neck nice and quick before moving on to the next project. They would absolutely have pushed it out. If this was just a question about earning money, they would have pushed it out, charged what they could, and then killed the service 5 months later and gotten on with it. No, this is middle management. I can damn near guarantee you. And bear you in mind, my source on this is my arse, mind you, but it fits all of the layers. So we know Hyenas, the drag queen inspired extraction shooter, was not the creation of some moneybag CEO. Nobody looked at Hyenas and went, ah yes, this is the banger we've all been waiting for. No, this was a ideologically inspired game. I've had the idea, a drag queen inspired extraction shooter, which is filled with stupid pop culture references like a Sonic in a gimp suit. This was not a focus-tested money bags thing, this was a personalized pet project. And we know apparently as well that at least 2 other non-Total War projects were also going on at the same time. See, if this was just about milking money, if it was the greedy money bag CEOs, all they would do is make more Total War games and make more DLC for more Total War games. That's what they would do. They would have added in another 5 expansions to Total War 3 Kingdoms, for example, or released Shogun 3 but with a third of the features, or another massive expansion packs for Total War Warhammer, etc. That's what they've always done. Instead, they put lots of money, millions and millions, to the point where now they're going to have to fire people into 3 projects, one of which is guaranteed dead, Hyenas, and 2 which are in a bit of a state of flux, where some people say they're dead, some people say they're alive, so who knows? But these are risky business investments. And again, in Hyenas, it seems more like a pet project rather than anything. What I think has happened here is that CA had a lot of successes, a lot of big success, a lot of profitable successes. And this was attributed to a handful of people in the middle management layer, who began building their own little reputations within the company. These became the trendsetters, the people who said what was okay and what wasn't okay, the people who created the atmosphere around Creative Assembly. And as we know from looking at their Twitter profile, for example, that was a very progressive idea. These people then became the golden child. And as we always see in these regards, when the progressives do this, they gather all power around themselves and then start wielding it in, for example, making their own pet projects heavily inspired by their own interests and ideas, like, oh, I don't know, a drag queen inspired extraction shooter, for example. And when they're doing this, they're not doing it to make a video game. That's the thing. It's not about making the game, it's about making the statement, about making the product, about making the virtue signal in essence. We're oversimplifying for time, but we've seen this again and again in countless pet projects, in countless major studios, and in countless major entertainment branches, in television and movies both, where the end product turns out to be garbage because the aim was never to make a good end product, it was to make a drag queen inspired shooter. Whether or not it was good or fun, that was a distant secondary concern to them. And then, when the greedy money-back executives actually did see this, as we have apparently seen with Sega cracking the whip now, they killed all of it. They looked at the enormous money drain hole that was Hyenas, they looked at the current PR situation and went, if we release this, we'll be burning our company to the ground. Kill it now. Again, indicating that this wasn't some executive decision, this was the middle management, the project leaders, etc., that hammered all of this through. It's the same thing with Saints Row, right? The Saints Row remake. The owners there, the big evil moneybag executives, the cruel corporate capitalists, they were, okay, you're the artist people, you know, at the company, what was it? Volition, that was it. You make the game, we'll provide the money, and if you're telling us it'll be a success, cool, this is what the kids want, okay, we've got no idea because we're corporate executives, make it. And Volition made themselves a pet project. Never designed to be fun or engaging or playable, it was designed to be diverse. And it failed. Just like Hyenas failed. Just like virtually all of these projects fail. And now, the hunt is on, of course, for the scapegoat. And as usual, the people who are already entrenched will not allow it to be themselves. This is why all of the people being fired are probably going to be the programmers, the workers on the floor, the people who didn't have any actual influence over any of this. Those who labored away trying to make a good video game with ass-backwards directions, or even barely knowing what the hell they were working on. This was a company of 800 people, mind you, as well. And they're the ones who are going to suffer now because of the egos of a few. That is my read on the situation, and I'm about 90% sure I'm in the right there, frankly. This will also then probably lead to a larger scale purge of the company overall, because again, this company has been spending a lot of money. 800 employees, 800 paychecks every single solitary month. That's a lot of cash. That is a frightening quantity of money. And when all of that produced, well, 1 complete failure and 3 failed projects, presumably 2 cancelled ones, and with the next Total War historical game, the big one, presumably being now in the engine development stage, according to rumours, well, that's 3 or 4 years away. And with Pharaoh as well being an enormous flop, Creative Assembly is now looking at a situation where they have burned all of the goodwill to the ground. And their moneymen are looking down at them, looking at all of the projects they were supposed to be releasing to make up this money, again, 2 unannounced, and Hyenas, and they're not seeing a whole lot of a future. And that's why the cuts are coming now, after the cancellations. It is because now the money bag executives have actually woken up to what's happening and are looking, we are burning money, and we've got nothing to show for it beyond an upset customer base. And obviously, greed is going to be an element out of it as well. They've pushed their Total War fan base to the brink over years and years of predatory monetization strategies. And Pharaoh, again, anyone with eyes to see could tell that was intended to be an expansion pack for Troy, but here's the thing, this is partially our fault as well, and I warned about this as vociferously as I could with Total War Warhammer, but I was ignored at the time, because the moment CA saw they were able to sell an expansion pack at full fucking price, guess what they did? They started selling their expansion packs at full bloody price. This is hardly rocket science. Genuinely, it is not. The question now then really remains, will the moneybags, the evil corporate executives, be able to slice enough fat to keep the company afloat? And here's the thing too, I sympathise with the workers, I always do, 'cause losing your job sucks. especially in this economy, which isn't exactly flourishing at the moment. And when you had a nice job, losing it for errors made way above your pay grade is not fun in the slightest. But at the same time, we also do need to realize at some point that companies do not exist to provide you with employment. Companies exist to get money. That is honestly, and this is going to sound cold-hearted here, okay, but hear me out. We need to return to the idea of vampiric capitalism. Honestly, we need to return to the idea where a company exists to earn money first, because only if a company is profitable can it actually provide you with employment. If a company is burning its money, paying 800 people, working on, and I will repeat it for as long as I can to really hammer home this point, the drag queen inspired extraction shooter, then you're not going to have money for long. Sustainable business practices must always come first, because without them, there is no employment. Unless we're all gonna go work for the government, I suppose. Since they have that brilliant ability to actually simply just print more money whenever they constantly and inevitably run out of it. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on the situation. I believe that this was a case of middle management, the ideologically inspired grouping that have over the years garnered so much power within the company that they were given the opportunity to make the game they wanted. They told the executives, hey, we've got a brilliant idea. All of the kids love diversity right now. And the executives, completely clueless, sitting on a yacht somewhere in Tokyo Bay, shrugged and said, okay, you say it's going to earn us money, you've earned us money so far, go ahead. And then about a year or so later, they wondered why they were smelling so much smoke. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.